people behind them. KC Cares is the intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. This KC Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. I'm Ruth Baum-Biggis. From time to time, KC Cares likes to shine the spotlight on our business community in the entire metro, focusing on its engagement in philanthropy and its support of area nonprofits. Burns and McDonnell is one of those companies, and we're delighted to welcome Charlotte Lewin. She is Chief Community Relations Strategist for this employee-owned company. Charlotte, we're so happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Ruth. Happy to be here.
And Burns and Mac is all over the place doing all kinds of good things. For the rare person out there who may not know what the company does, can you tell us a little bit about your breadth and depth of what you are?
So think about all the things that you encounter on a daily basis, infrastructure, the roads you drive to get to work, the internet that you hop on, the electricity when you flip your light switch. We do a lot of that planning, architecture, construction. We hire scientists. So lots of we have our hands in a lot of different industries, but we're about 13,500 strong across 70 offices globally, and we're continue to grow. And we're headquartered here in Kansas City. So we've had a long history of giving back in the community and really try to connect our employees into the community as well.
Let's talk a little bit about why is it important to be involved and be engaged. I mean, you've got plenty of work to do. It's not like you were looking for extra things, right?
Yeah. So I would say, for Burns and McDonnell, number one, it's the right thing to do. We live and work in these communities, and so we want them to be strong. We want all of our neighbors to have opportunities in our community. So it's the right thing to do to support. And then if you look at it from an employee engagement angle, we want to make sure that people working in our offices feel that connection to their community, understand maybe some of the challenges our neighbors are facing in our communities, and can, rise to the cause and help.
That's a tough nut to crack. How do you begin even that conversation in a corporate structure?
Great question. So there, as large as we are, there are a lot of personal passions and interests that our employee owners have. And from the foundation, we actually try to focus across three main areas in our community impact. So the first, really around inspiring that next generation of STEM leader. Selfishly, we would love those kindergartners of today to walk through the doors of Burns and Mac, fast forward 3 decades. But also, these are the careers of the future. We're going to need kids today to solve a lot of really big challenges that our communities, the world really will be facing. And so we send a lot of employees out into the community. We bring students and educators on site to our offices, and we want to really plant that seed for a love of STEM. Our second really big focus area is cultivating vibrant and healthy communities. So really around those causes that, lift our neighbors up. So housing, health, hunger, those kind of things. And then third, with our community impact, we want to be a good business citizen. So advancing civic initiatives in our community to make sure that we're at the table for those important conversations.
I want to go back a little bit, even maybe more basic. Burns and Mac has a foundation. How long has the foundation existed, and why a foundation?
Yeah, so the foundation started back in 86, 87, right around the time that our company became employee owned. And again, recognizing that commitment to the community that we have, we wanted to set aside some dollars that could grow and then, ultimately be remitted out into the community via grants. And it's really grown from a pretty heavy Kansas City focus to now national. We have, probably dozen-ish really large office locations, and of course, branch offices, field offices all across the country where our employees are working and building things. So the footprint's really expanded, but the foundation really is there to focus in on those things that are maybe important to our corporation. And then we have several other programs too that bring employees in as well and get them engaged in their local community.
I think it's interesting when a corporation decides to create a foundation rather than, okay, we're going to just go do these projects and now there's a committee to do it. It seems to give it a little bit more guidance and structure of how you move through what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really helps focus our giving in communities across the country where, again, we have so many employees and different communities have different challenges, but it really helps us tell that narrative across all of our offices about what Burns and McDonnell is doing as a company everywhere. Of course, there's a little bit different flavor of that in each of our offices locations, but it really does help tell a kind of united story for us as a business and a brand, and also for our employees when they're going out and talking to neighbors and others, peers, professionals in their community.
I know in prepping for the show, I saw that you do get input from your employees while you have these big areas. So how does a company with 70 offices and lots of employees, what's the process of doing that so that you do hear a voice?
Yeah, so one of the really awesome programs that we have had going for a while now, honestly, now that I'm put on the spot, I'm not sure when it exactly started, but we do have a corporate citizenship committee. So each of our larger office locations across the country has a representative from this committee that really helps surface either those requests or interests that they're hearing from employees. And it also allows us to have champions in those office locations that can take some of our company-wide corporate initiatives and kind of bring them to the people, if you will. So it's a really great relationship that we have with those people. It's kind of viewed as a leadership development opportunity as well. So I think people are excited to engage. And it also gives them some education and awareness about challenges in their communities and how, we can reach out to nonprofit partners and say like, hey, we're Burns and McDonnell. We have this large employee base. We're here to help, how can we get involved?
How many people sit on that committee? And it's from offices all over, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So we have right now, and we're chatting about growing it, but right now we have around 30-ish representatives. So that includes several representatives from our Kansas City office, just because we have about half of our employees here. So a big chunk of people. And then representatives from each of our, again, larger offices across the country. But definitely, as we continue to grow, some of our offices are reaching those thresholds where I think some of that support is definitely needed and welcome. And so we're having those conversations about how can we onboard new individuals too, to make sure, again, they're getting those corporate messages from the foundation around a lot of our giving campaigns, but also we can hear from that employee base as well about where they're engaged, what they're doing, what's exciting for them.
How do you meet? I assume Zoom, Teams, whatever.
Yes. So we do have a monthly-ish, I'll say, Teams meeting. And then we also get together every year around the fall timeframe with a summit for that group. And so bringing everyone together in person, I think that's after we do a lot of Zoom, Teams, et cetera. But I do think being in person really helps build those relationships. And so we kind of have some professional development opportunities. That summit is also where we really focus on one of our giving campaigns that we run corporate wide, which is our annual Charity of Choice campaign. So that committee meets, selects a cause area that the company will support for the following year. And then we work with each of those corporate citizenship committee representatives to select a local beneficiary. And that program has been very successful and very popular with our employee base because, again, we get that nice unified narrative across the company, but we still get to keep the dollars local, which is really the sweet spot that we found for a lot of our employee giving initiatives.
So in every one of your 70, is there a charity of choice, or in your bigger offices? How does that work?
Yeah, not quite the 70. So we kind of have a threshold that we like to talk with offices that want to participate about kind of an expectation of dollar potential and also volunteerism. The campaign really focuses on getting our employees connected with that nonprofit. And so we were at about, I think, 30 to 40 beneficiaries in our most recent campaign this year, which was around supporting foster youth.
How do you make that choice? I mean, you're a big corporation. I'm sure there's more than one or two nonprofits knocking on your door.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the fun part is that committee, the Corporate Citizenship Committee, we really give them the freedom to nominate different cause areas, kind of make the case. Again, what have you been hearing from employees? Maybe what causes are you just getting into or have partnerships with that you think could, be elevated through this campaign? And so we really give them the freedom of choice there and to kind of rally that committee around a single cause. And absolutely, the list is long. And so we kind of have a couple phases of narrowing down that list. But I think for our team, it's a really fun campaign because the cause area changes every year and allows our employees in our team opportunities to work with some nonprofit partners that maybe aren't on our usual list per our focus areas that I mentioned before. I think charity of choice for us gives us a great opportunity to learn about challenges that maybe honestly our employees might be one or two levels removed from, just because we are fortunate to work for a very great company here. And so we really get to touch on some different cause areas. Like I said, most recently with foster youth, and then other causes have included human trafficking, hunger, mental wellness. We've worked with a lot of different causes in the past, and I think that's kind of the fun part about that campaign is it changes and you have an opportunity to learn more.
Well, let's let you have a plug right here. For those who are listening, and if can they get into the process? Can you share how that works and just where folks should go if they want to know more?
Yeah, if you'd like to know more about, really any of our giving initiatives, we have, of course, our website, burnsmcd.com. You're welcome to reach out through there. If you know a Burns and McDonnell employee, that's also a great in for them to kind of pass that along. And like you said, we definitely get a lot of solicitations and inquiries of interest. And so the list does grow. It grows all the time. And when you think about too, this campaign, you think about how many nonprofits are in Kansas City, and we're multiplying that by all of our offices. So there's no shortage of good causes available. And it just is kind of what's rising to the top that the committee goes with. And so feel free to reach out to us via website or LinkedIn. You can always hit me up. Happy to chat.
Uh-oh. Be ready to be busy.
I know.
Be ready to be busy. We also like to share in our conversations, some of the best practices that you have created. And as the company switched from other ownership to employee, where did you all go to kind of structure these things to say, oh, here's what we should do to pick a charity of choice. Here are the steps we should go through. Here are the resources we can go to support us.
Yeah, so great question. And when I came in, several of these programs were established. And honestly, I think a lot of these programs were in response to growth of our employee base. I think a lot of corporations in this space, who have started maybe in the hundreds and now are into thousands of employees, you do need that structure because, again, no shortage of good causes to support. And it does get very challenging. And unfortunately, a lot of my role or my peers' role at their corporations is saying no, or maybe no, not now, check back later. And so I think in response to a lot of those solicitations, having some programs that give some structure around how we can support, when we can support, who we can support. We do have some automatic no's in our foundation. And again, that's just to draw a line because there are so many great causes. Right. And so I think a lot of the structure was put in place. For example, our Charity of Choice program, we get a lot of requests for things that may not exactly align with those giving priorities I outlined. And this is an opportunity where we might be able to to make a yes. We also have a matching gifts program, which is a really great option for that no from the foundation, but yes, in another capacity through this matching gifts program. It's still foundation funding, probably not at the level the employee is requesting, but it gives us, again, an opportunity to say yes when we can. And I think that's probably the largest challenge for businesses that are solicited by nonprofits, is, there's going to have to be a no eventually. Either funding will become unavailable, or it just doesn't align, or sometimes it's just the timing is not great. The portfolio might have several nonprofit partnerships in a certain cause area already, and now is not an opportunity to bring another partner on.
Well, I was really impressed that you all will match your employees' donations 100% up to a certain level.
Yes. Yeah. There is a threshold. And so for us, this is a company-wide program for employee owners. And so annually, each employee owner can request up to $300 in matching per year. And so we see really great use of this for those personal fundraising initiatives. Think like runs, walks, and bike rides. A lot of people have personal fundraising goals for those types of charitable events. So that's probably the most common use. But the really cool part too is that program is very responsive. So we see lots of bumps around disaster relief in 2020, around COVID response, and also racial justice initiatives. We really like that program, and I think employees appreciate the support there too, even if it's not always maybe at the level they came in requesting.
But that's very empowering to employees. Absolutely. I would think to say, I can, $300 goes a long way for a number of nonprofits, and the power of people. If you can, get your buddy to convince a lot of other buddies, you can make an even bigger impact. So
yeah, absolutely. And we see that, some employees, again, like a personal fundraising goal, and then they have a coworker who gives and also uses their match to support. So the impact can definitely spread, and we see just a wide variety of causes. And again, some things that would be an automatic no, those restrictions are removed in our matching gifts program. So it's a very cool program that our team loves, and I think employees appreciate as well for that little extra boost to their personal passion.
So we've talked about charity of choice. We've talked about the individual matching. You've got a few other really big things going. So let's bring them out and put them in the spotlight.
Sounds good. So our largest corporate campaign, workplace campaign, is with United Way. We've been partnering with United Way for at least 60 years, I believe. Really started out at Kansas City and now has grown to all of our office locations. And just to kind of give you a magnitude of scale here, in 2022, our campaign was over $4.4 million. And that's mostly employee contribution. So we have very generous employees. And we really enjoy partnering with United Way because we feel they're looking at the community at large and helping to bring nonprofit partners together and fill maybe some gaps toward goals that a community might have around different causes. And so we've been very strong supporters of United Way in Kansas City. I think we're the largest campaign for United Way of Greater Kansas City. And then company-wide, we have a lot of great partnerships going, getting people engaged in volunteer events, getting them involved in leadership giving circles. So getting together with other community champions to learn about those causes. And it's a campaign that really, I think, has made a huge impact in all of our communities where employees live and work. So that's the largest one. And then I know I mentioned STEM as a main focus area. And so we do a lot of giving and volunteer STEM outreach through kind of that cause area. In 2022, we launched 2 brand new programs really focused outside of Kansas City, honestly, because we are very well known in KC, I think. But as we've grown in a lot of other office locations, we are trying to make those same connections and be known in the educator community as, hey, we have people here that really want to help your students and connect the dots from what they're learning in class to a potential career. And so sending our people out, bringing students in. And last year we launched 2 programs for non-KC locations. The first was a partnership with Project Lead the Way, which is a pre-K through 12 curriculum around STEM education. That's national. They have thousands and thousands of students participating. And so we had a $1.5 million 3-year partnership with them to make grants to schools that are implementing Project Lead the Way curriculum or expanding it. Maybe they have it in the high school and they want to get into the middle or elementary school spaces. So that's been really an amazing partnership. We've been able to grow some of those relationships with schools across the country. And then similarly, but a little bit smaller scale, we launched a national STEM grant program that's kind of a direct to school model. So teachers can sign up or apply for a grant through our foundation for either STEM materials, so things that they can use in their classroom to implement the STEM teaching, or even professional development, so conferences or other opportunities where they can kind of bring that learning back, impact their students and other staff as well. Between those two programs over the next few years, we're looking at hopefully over $2 million investment in STEM students and educators across the country. And then locally, hopefully a lot of people listening have heard of our Burns and McDonnell Battle of the Brains program. That is a very large initiative out of our Kansas City office where we have been working with Science City since 2011. And it's a very unique program, I think, nationwide. We're really focused on inspiring those kiddos through the opportunity to get an exhibit from their mind, their big creative idea, designed and built by Burns and McDonnell at Science City. So we ask students K through 12 across the metro to submit a proposal for the next permanent exhibit at Science City. And then we choose a winner. We work with that team of students for about 18 to 24 months to build their exhibit. And then we get to celebrate that grand opening. So this September, we will launch our 7th exhibit, and we will also kick off our 7th competition cycle. So it's a every other year competition cycle. And so we launch that in the odd years. And so invite anyone who is an educator, who knows an educator that'd be interested in participating. You can check out botbkc.com. But that has resulted in a $9 million investment in Science City, almost $1 million direct to schools for STEM education funding. And most importantly, over 30,000 students have participated in this program. And we actually are seeing full-time hires and interns who have participated in the program now here at Burns and McDonnell, which is really what it's all about. A great story to tell.
That's so exciting. I was going to ask you, how do you track? Well, you know how you track because there's some kiddos who are now employees. That's what a wonderful forward-thinking lift up, and how great for Science City. They get the benefit of some really, really cool exhibits. Yeah,
absolutely. We've had some very cool things built. And again, direct from the minds of students. They are super creative. And it's really our honor to get to work with them and help put something in Science City that we know kids are already super excited about.
All told, how many, and I'm assuming it's millions of dollars through all your philanthropic have you been, have you put out there, and volunteer hours and all of that?
Yeah. So if we're looking at 2022, and that's my most recent in my mind, when we talk about our foundation, our corporate gifts, which are sometimes not always aligned with our foundation goals, and our employee initiatives, employee giving. 2022, our company-wide impact was around $11 million.
Oh my gosh.
That keeps trending up because we've been growing. We have more people. We're making a bigger impact. I should have the stat of since we started. I should grab that one, but we're talking
millions
of dollars, over time. And a lot of that, because we are employee owned, that's dollars that, are being set aside for the community that could potentially go back to our employees through salary or bonus. And so I think employees are very proud of the impact that we're making. And, it's our team. We take that responsibility really seriously to make sure that we're being good stewards of those funds and really creating partnerships that are impactful for our employees and our communities.
And thousands of hours in volunteer service.
Yeah. So I think if you talk to a lot of corporations, volunteer tracking is a constant challenge. And so definitely one for us. We actually this year are celebrating our 125th anniversary as a company, started back in 1898. And with that, we launched a 125-minute volunteer challenge. So obviously, a lot of our employees, they're doing that in a month. So it's no big deal. But I think, again, another challenge in the corporate giving space or employee engagement is around getting new employees involved and connected to the impact that you're making in the community. And so really, this challenge is meant for those people to invite people in, like, hey, we know everyone's busy, certainly got a lot on their plate just from billable project perspective, but take that opportunity to get out in the community. And to that end, our team has also tried to provide some on-site opportunities when available to make it easy for those employees to join.
Do you all have any intersection where those who are not Burns and Mac employees can help in an initiative that you're doing?
Yeah, so I think one of the more common ways is through client partnerships. So when we are out, say, building a solar field site in Wisconsin, we can bring our client along for different volunteer opportunities, or when we're out building a water plant in very far western Kansas, there's opportunities there too. So we definitely work with our clients a lot to bring them out to volunteer, to also raise funds or do drives for the local community. Programs like our Battle of the Brains also have an opportunity for the public to engage. We kind of narrow it down in a couple rounds of judging. And so there's an opportunity for employees to learn about those proposals, the submissions that are kind of sitting at the top, and help us also kind of narrow that field. And then I think, we definitely participate with nonprofits in kind of their larger community events to get engaged. Another example, I think, is Rock the Parkway. That's a race that we host here from Burns and McDonnell, currently benefiting Children's Mercy. And so anyone from the community is welcome to volunteer there to run and support. So those are a few of the ways that we can invite the community in right now.
And again, the best place is to go to the website?
Yep, burnsmcd.com. There we have a social responsibility tab, and you can learn about all the great things we're doing in this space.
Well, I know we don't like to talk about the P word, but I do like to ask our guests, what's the greatest lesson working in this charity philanthropy sphere that you've learned from that you now kind of put into place and say, yeah, okay, we did learn a thing or two?
I think one of the largest challenges, I think, in corporate philanthropy is focusing. And there are no shortage of great causes in Kansas City. And then you look at communities across the country, people are doing very awesome, important, impactful work. Unfortunately, we can't say yes to all of those things. There's just not enough dollars, not enough time, not enough opportunities for employees to get engaged. And so really trying to hone in on those partnerships that kind of offer that best fit, which for us looks like employee engagement opportunities, leadership connection to boards or committees, and then wrapping around with financial support as well. And that's, I think, I think a lot of people, I hear a lot like, oh, your job must be so fun. And it absolutely is. But one of the big bummers is I have to say no a lot. And often to things that I personally feel like, that sounds so cool, awesome, you're doing great work. But again, maybe not the right time, not a best fit. And an absolute no, we just don't fund something in that cause area. And so that's something I also try to share with employees so that they have an understanding too of, this might be their personal passion, but we're trying to account for over 13,000 people now and growing people's personal passions. So it's challenging, and we aren't going to be able to say yes all the time. And I try to give some context around that. I think that's a good lesson learned in my space is sharing that message with people so they can better understand the why for the things that we are opting into, why it's important to Burns and McDonnell that we're in that space.
So we just encourage everybody, go check out the website. Make sure before you ask, you kind of know what you're asking for.
Yeah.
But Charlotte's really nice, so be sure to check her out.
People think that. I will also say, though, give me some grace if you do hit me up in my inbox. There is a lot happening. So
absolutely. Charlotte, thank you for sharing all the great stuff that Burns and Mac is doing, not only here in Kansas City, but all over the place where you're located. We're very lucky to have a corporation giving back in the community. And thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ruth, for having me. Great to chat today.
Thank you for joining us for Casey Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're produced by Charitable Communications, which is also a nonprofit. This Casey Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. To be a guest on Casey Cares, please visit our website. It's kccaresonline.org. Spread the love. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at Casey Cares Radio and Instagram at Casey Cares Online. And don't forget, you can catch us Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 AM and 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on Casey Cares.